Time is supposed to be unshakable, an unbroken flow that marks the rhythm of our lives. But for some, that rhythm is suddenly disrupted. Hours vanish without explanation. Entire spans of memory erased as though they never happened. These are the stories of missing time, most often linked to one of the strangest and most unsettling mysteries of all: alleged encounters with non-human intelligences. Unlike dreams or hallucinations, the missing hours often leave behind physical traces, strange marks, altered environments, and a lingering sense of unease. For the people who experience them, these gaps are not abstract curiosities, but deeply personal events that blur the line between waking reality and something far beyond our understanding. Time slips away quietly. It leaves no warning, no sound, no sign of when or why it will vanish. For those who experience missing time, the only certainty is that something happened during those lost hours. Something hidden, something deeply disturbing. Reports of this phenomenon stretch back decades. In 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were driving through rural New Hampshire when they saw strange lights in the sky. What should have been a routine journey turned into a 2-hour gap in their memories, later revealed under hypnosis to involve one of the first widely publicized accounts of alien abduction. In the 1970s, truck driver Travis Walton disappeared for 5 days in the forests of Arizona, his sudden reappearance as baffling as his absence. And countless others, pilots, hikers, motorists, have spoken of stretches of time they could not account for. Sometimes minutes, sometimes hours, often accompanied by physical marks, disorientation, or lingering fear. These stories share common threads: the sudden intrusion of strange lights, a disruption of normal surroundings, and the eerie silence of blank memory. What unites them is not just the absence of time, but the presence of something inexplicable that seems to intrude into everyday life. And often, these incidents don't take place in far-flung corners of the globe, but on familiar roads, under starlit skies, or in the company of trusted friends. It is in these ordinary settings that the extraordinary seems to break through. One such case surfaced online in 2021, told by 2 lifelong friends from Bakersfield, California. Their story, set against the vast and unforgiving backdrop of the Mojave Desert, would carry the echoes of those earlier accounts: missing time, strange surroundings, and the bewildering sensation that they had brushed against forces far beyond human understanding. The driver and her passenger recounted their unsettling encounter. The driver, a vibrant 20-something known among her circle for her adventurous spirit and close-knit friendships, led an unremarkable life, working a steady job, enjoying weekend outings, and cherishing time with the passenger with whom she'd shared countless road trips and laughs. But on a seemingly ordinary evening around 2001, in the shadow of the Mojave Desert's unforgiving terrain, they would stumble into a puzzle that defied all logic, pulling them into the fringes of military secrecy and unexplained phenomena. That night, the 2 friends had been invited to what they thought was a casual party in Ridgecrest, a quiet town hugging the edge of the Naval Air Weapons Station China Lake. a sprawling 1.1 million acre behemoth of desert and mountains. Home to the US Navy's premier weapons testing and development programs since 1943. The base, often shrouded in rumors of advanced tech and occasional UFO sightings, was a place locals navigated with passes for everyday amenities like schools and pools. But its deeper recesses remained off-limits, guarded by fences, patrols, and the weight of national security. The event turned out to be a formal 50th wedding anniversary celebration, leaving the underdressed duo feeling out of place amid the elegant banquet hall. They nibbled on the catered food, mingled briefly, and then headed to the home of the passenger's cousin for a more relaxed wind-down. As evening crept across the arid landscape, they decided it was time to head back to Bakersfield. The driver slid behind the wheel of their vehicle, the passenger buckling into the passenger seat, and they pulled onto the familiar freeway on-ramp. The road ahead was straight and unassuming, the kind of drive they'd made dozens of times before. But this time, something shifted. Imperceptibly at first, like the subtle hum of distant machinery echoing from the base's test ranges. Their next conscious moment came abruptly, 4 hours later, under the stark glare of the desert stars. The driver blinked into awareness, her body jolted by the realization that she was no longer driving. Instead, she sat in the passenger seat, the passenger now at the wheel, staring blankly ahead as the car rumbled along a dusty, unpaved road at 30 to 40 miles per hour. The surroundings were alien. A chain-link fence topped with barbed wire ran parallel on the driver's side, enclosing an ungraded field that stretched into the darkness. Confusion turned to terror as they spotted a large white sign, 20 by 30 inches, emblazoned with bold red and black letters. Warning. Active landmine field. The words hit like a thunderclap. The driver screamed for the passenger to turn around, and in a frenzy of dust and panic, they executed a U-turn, speeding back at 50 to 60 miles per hour. They hadn't gone far, perhaps 2 minutes, when lights pierced the night from all directions, converging faster than seemed possible across the rough terrain. Sirens wailed, and military police jeeps surrounded them, forcing the car to a halt. The military police, stern and efficient, pulled the sobbing women from the vehicle. 2 20-somethings in party dresses, far from the glamour of the anniversary hall, now stood trembling in the cold desert air, interrogated under the beam of flashlights. "How did you get here? Which gate did you enter?" the officers demanded, their confusion mirroring the women's own. Searches of their IDs revealed a minor issue for the passenger, but nothing to explain their presence deep inside the base. A restricted zone where unauthorized entry could spell serious trouble, especially in the pre-9/11 era when security, though rigorous, lacked the post-attack fortifications. For hours, the women were detained in the open desert. The driver leaned against the fence in the dirt, shivering in her light attire, while the passenger, who had been driving, was sequestered in the back of a military vehicle. No evidence in the car, no wrappers, drinks, or signs of a detour accounted for the missing time. Eventually, after exhaustive questioning, the military police escorted them out through a northern gate, depositing them back into civilian territory on the opposite side of Ridgecrest from where they'd started. They arrived home around 2 a.m., the 4-hour void hanging over them like a shroud. In the days that followed, the incident gnawed at them. They confided in a handful of trusted friends and family, 5 or 6 people, but reactions were mixed. Some dismissed it as a tall tale or a misremembered night. Others sensed the raw fear in their voices. The women stopped sharing widely, burying the memory until years later, when the driver recounted it to her fiancé and posted about it online. Physically, changes emerged. The driver developed severe allergies to nearly everything, while the passenger became intolerant to tomatoes, shifts they tentatively linked to aging, though the timing raised eyebrows. Tragically, Both lost brothers to separate murders in the ensuing years, adding layers of sorrow to their lives. Despite this, they forged ahead, building families and careers, yet the hesitation to pursue hypnosis lingered, a fear of unearthing something too disturbing. What truly elevates this encounter is its ties to China Lake's shadowy legacy. The base, a hub for supersonic ordnance tracks, geothermal energy fields, and classified projects, has long fueled speculation. Declassified records hint at electromagnetic experiments that could disrupt perception or time awareness, while eyewitness accounts from the area describe UFOs hovering near test sites, including controversial photos from 2007 showing metallic crafts pursued by helicopters. The Mojave Desert, a sun-baked expanse of isolation stretching across California and Arizona, has long been whispered about as a gateway to the unknown. Its vast emptiness, dotted with military bases like China Lake and ancient petroglyphs, hinting at otherworldly visitors, has earned it a reputation as a UFO hotspot. Since the 1950s, pilots and locals have reported strange lights dancing over the dunes, while abduction tales pile up like mirages, families vanishing for hours only to resurface with no memory, or worse, fragmented visions of sterile rooms and probing figures. George Adamski's 1952 encounter with a Venusian near Desert Center set the stage, but the 1970s saw a surge. The Hess couple's 1975 drive turning into a 6-hour void with hypnotic recalls of grey beings and clusters of missing time near Barstow, where time itself seems to dissolve under the relentless stars. Into this arid enigma stepped a teenage girl on a family road trip, whose ordinary journey shattered into something far beyond comprehension. Christina Florence was a spirited 17-year-old from New York City, her dreams of dance and choreography as vibrant as her laughter. By all accounts, she was a dreamer grounded in routine, cherishing road trips with her parents and younger sister as escapes filled with shared stories and holiday plans. On a crisp November evening in 1974, the family was crossing the Mojave from California toward Arizona in their 1964 Plymouth. The desert's endless expanse, a silent companion. Just after 4 p.m., some 100 miles east of Barstow on Highway 58, their journey stalled. A flat tire halted the car amid swirling dust devils on a desolate stretch. As Christina and her sister stepped out to assist, the twilight air grew heavy, charged with an unnatural stillness. At precisely 4:17 p.m., a blinding, pulsating glow engulfed the vehicle. A shimmering wall of energy accompanied by a low hum that vibrated through their bones. The world blurred, their limbs grew heavy, and consciousness slipped away. When Christina stirred, it was 10:03 p.m., 6 hours later. She awoke slumped in the back seat, her head pounding, her skin prickling with a strange metallic residue. The car sat on a smooth road near Kingman, Arizona, 200 miles from where they'd stopped, the tire inexplicably pristine. The family's dashboard clock read 4:47 p.m., a mere 30 minutes elapsed, in contrast to the nearly 6 hours real-world time that had passed. Confusion gripped them. No one recalled the drive or the repair. Christina's eyes fell on her arm. Scoop-like scars and deep, fingerprint-like bruises bloomed across her skin. A wave of nausea clung to her, unshakable, while her sister vaguely recalled a blinding light, her parents dismissing it as exhaustion. But something deeper gnawed at Christina, her nights soon plagued by visions, flashes of cold tables, curved walls, and silent, large-eyed figures moving with clinical precision. Years later, in 1982, relentless nightmares pushed Christina to hypnosis with UFO researcher Bud Hopkins. Under trance, the lost hours surfaced. She described how a beam lifted her into a humming, egg-shaped craft. Inside, a sterile chamber glowed with harsh light. its curved walls lined with alien screens. Grey-skinned beings, 4 feet tall with large black eyes, conducted experiments, while one seemed to be silently scanning her mind. The Christina Florence case, with its 6-hour void and haunting visions of alien probes, echoes countless Mojave Desert mysteries where time itself seems to unravel. From families vanishing on lonely highways to drivers resurfacing miles away with no memory, these stories share a chilling thread. Ordinary moments swallowed by inexplicable gaps and marked by lingering dread. Like the China Lake Base Intrusion, these cases point to forces beyond our comprehension. Be they extraterrestrial, psychological, or something stranger still. What could cause such precise erasures of time, sometimes leaving behind physical traces? The answers demand exploration into the shadows of speculation. Each of these Mojave mysteries stand alone in its terror, yet all bind together with one disquieting strand: lost time, as if the desert itself conspires to erase the boundaries between here and elsewhere. In each case, hours had passed. Some quantum physicists posit the many worlds interpretation, where every choice splinters reality into infinite branches, and lost time becomes a fleeting bleed between these worlds, slipping through cracks in the fabric. In Christina's case, the egg-shaped craft and grey figures could mark a momentary overlap with a parallel realm, her body a reluctant bridge. The China Lake friends, too, might have drifted into a shadow version of their world, the base's restricted zones a thin veil where military secrets guard not just weapons, but doorways. Could the Mojave's electromagnetic hotspots, those buzzing fields from underground tests, act as natural amplifiers, thinning the barriers just enough for such incursions? Legends of ancient petroglyphs depicting star visitors hint at distortions etched into the land itself, long before Adamski's sources or Hess's hypnotic horrors. But science's cold lens is not the only one to peer into these voids. Psychology whispers of the brain's cunning deceptions. Under duress, grief, or fatigue, it weaves confabulations, filling gaps with imagined horrors drawn from cultural whispers of aliens and abductions. The Mojave's isolation, with its endless horizons and heightening paranoia, could spawn such mirages. The friend's seat switch could have been a shared hallucination from dehydration. Yet here's the fracture in that tidy frame. Both tales carry multiple witnesses, from family clocks defying logic to the baffled interrogations of military police. And what of the physical echoes? Scoop marks matching other cases, sudden allergies blooming like aftershocks. These defy the mind's solitary tricks. For those drawn to the shadows, the paranormal beckons with bolder strokes. Extraterrestrial harvesters, grey sentinels from another planet, snatching samples in the desert's cover. Their beams a gateway to sterile labs where time bends to their will. Christina's telepathic scan echoes Hopkins's research on hybrid programs, while China Lake's intrusion, mere miles from classified runways, stirs suspicions of military mind control and alien abduction. Declassified CIA files on consciousness manipulation, like the Stargate project, tease at human experiments mimicking such rifts. The base's active landmine fields, a smokescreen for temporal trials. The Mojave, after all, cradles the Edwards Air Force Base, where Roswell debris allegedly first landed. Whatever the origin, these lost time enigmas linger as one of the most disquieting riddles in the unexplained, forcing us to question the unyielding tick of our clocks. Skeptics cling to the brain's frailties and the desert's deceptions, but a cadre of physicists and fringe thinkers dare to dream of infinite parallel universes, overlapping realms where the here and now frays at the edges. None fully capture the raw consistency, the visceral detail, or the soul-deep weight borne by those yanked from their hours. If time is not the iron chain we imagine, but a fragile web trembling in the wind, then where do we truly dwell? Forward in line, sideways in echoes, or circling in endless loops. For the lost, there's no clean reclaiming. Whether they brushed another world or merely their mind's abyss, the void reshapes them. And therein lies a terrifying question. Not the hours stolen, but why the entity chose to return them at all.